Let me get a little model holder ready. So there's a lot going on here, and I had to make a lot of decisions about the presentation of this corpse and stuff. So I've got a wet palette out just from the other day. I don't know. So there is like a frame. There is some stuff in the back I still have to kind of prime. There are some latches. Like I can decide how much I'm going to leave red. Like, so I definitely need to frame this out. That's going to be tight. That's going to be tricky. But here's the problem. It's like if I paint these like wings any color, but if I don't leave them red, then it's like the shoulders aren't even red. You know? That's kind of the issue here. So airbrushing this red might have been an exercise in futility, honestly. Might not have been something we needed to do. But I want red on the shoulders, so I feel like it's going to come down to just leaving that little, like, kind of artwork back there red. So let's just start by... Let's just do a little frame. I'm just going to pull some coal black out. Half Truck Joe. What's up, man? So I'm just going to grab some straight up coal black. Pretty much raw dog. Sometimes I use a little flow improver when I'm going raw dog. But what I want to do is I want to just see what it starts to look like is if I carefully paint the frame in. And I'm using pretty much just straight opaque paint right off the palette. Using the tip of my brush, pulling back gently. And I want to just shift it all to this coal black. And I want to be very careful here. I'm using my number 4. Using the heart pull strategy here, right? Where I'm just rotating and just trying to pull straight back when applicable. And this little curvature up here is what's going to be kind of tricky. Mini model builder, thank you for the sub. My man Dilgart coming in, thank you for the sub. A couple of legends. Dilgart, mini model builder, check it out. So you want to just kind of start and pull gently back, barely moving your hand, you see? Always take a moment to rotate the model. And so I got to definitely do a little work on there to figure out how I want this frame to exist, you know? So this is a little bit of exploration. Monument Slow Fuse coming in with that raid life. That's my man, Jason. Is my raid alert not up? Oh, War Pigment just gifted a sub. There we go. Let's get some hype in the chat. Gentastic, Jason Craze, and the whole Monument crew bringing some love our way as we figure out this insane ass shoulder pad. Using a little coal black. So, what's up, nerd? Gentastic, just hearts and unicorns. We're just trying to figure out this shoulder pad situation and how we want it to look. I'm just introducing some straight up coal black for now. It's like a latch right here. See, I'm just trying to, figure out what I'm looking at, right? Got a little black in a place I shouldn't have because I wasn't paying close enough attention. But there's definitely like a little hinge here, like it's a door or some shit. That's kind of weird. Now, where it gets tricky is like, what exactly am I looking at here, right? So I'm going to just kind of creep in. Creep in from this viewing angle using the very tip of our number 4 Pro Synth. These Pro Synths are legendary. And, you know, until Jason did this formula, Jason and Jen, I don't know what the R&D department is over there, but I haven't always been like too in love with big ass synthetic brushes, but these brushes absolutely combine like the glazing and wet blending capability of a solid stable brush, but they have the perfect kind of like retention and snap to also do really precision work. So I've basically you know, stopped using sables now. I use these synthetic sables that he makes. So, black frame, I just want to kind of see that because I need to decide how much red we're going to leave here. And that's why I kind of need to do this right now, just to see what's up. So we're going to kind of just paint one. We're going to block one in real quick. Or actually, maybe I'll just do 2. Let's just be efficient. Actually, it's still a little wet on the frame, so I don't know. We got to paint these corpses, so I tend not to overthink stuff like that. Because I feel like you can kind of use any colors you want. So we have a lot of warmth on the model. So we could do so, we can be kind of interesting if we wanted to. Just, you know, maybe deploy a little coolness. You know, I don't know. Let's see what happens if I grab just some blue, dark blue, right there. Okay. So a little dark blue. Let's just, like I said, let's not really overthink it. And look, I got some like just black brown here. So some black brown and some blue. And I'm just going to quickly and carefully paint this guy in this shitty ass blue brown we made. And I'm focusing on the actual skin parts for now. And it seems like his face has a lot of skin on it, but also some exposed skull. I'm not sure. I mean, it's a fully detailed piece. Like, this shoulder pad is like as detailed as like a Space Marine captain. You know what I mean? It's not like just these bodies are just like an afterthought, like in the background of a shield or some shit, you know? These are full-on little dudes. Full-on scale models sculpted into the shoulder pad here. So, you know, you can't just slack on these guys. Like, they're a huge feature on the model. Which is why I'm trying, you know, dedicate a whole show to these. There's like a fucking face. Like I said, like I can't quite see where skin ends and skull begins. So I'm just going to pretend it doesn't for now. It's like this guy's like shoulder right here. He's like pinned. His face is pinned. Looks like his neck and shoulder are like coming down here. Some guts are spilling out. Here's another potentially skull with some skin flaps. Hard to tell. Now this is all just ropey intestines right here. Right? Let's get precise here. And so I'm going pretty hot and heavy. That's something I like the Monument paints for, the Pro Krill, is that I can go pretty raw dog with these paints. You know, I mean, honestly, you can do that with a lot of paints, but like you don't get as good results. A lot of times when I'm doing base coats with Monument paints, I'm just like literally just scooping it off the fucking canvas and putting it right in the model and just spreading it out. Like, people are like, oh, 2 thin coats. I'm just like, I kind of do everything with 1 thick coat. So a lot of times I would start kind of wet blending immediately, but no, I'm going to let that dry for a second because I want to figure out the intestine situation. Now, do we want to do like hyper pink intestines, or do we want to do like ropey gray intestines? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of, but like, you know, I kind of feel like, I always feel the pink. So here's some transparent red from the other day. Some sloppy white mixed in. You know, and I'll just kind of gingerly just kind of, and this is not as opaque. The second you start scooping the transparent into the mix, it's going to water it down a little bit and lower the opacity. Because, like, it doesn't have the same body, right? So it's almost like I'm using the transparent red as moisture. And then white, titanium white is the only heavy body. And so even though, like, pink is not necessarily accurate here to what, like intestines might look like, it's just something I like to do. Any excuse to get some magentas built in, you know? So we'll let that just relax. We'll let that cure and dry. Okay, so that way we can be efficient with our time. Hey, look, another one. So let's, you know, let's just go with some of that black and brown, or I mean that dark blue and brown. Oh lordy, now when something like that dries, would you dry brush a lighter value over top? Oh, you could. I mean, you're allowed to. It's all up to you, man. Like, it depends too. It's like, remember, dry brushing, I mean, you can do dry brushing and there's a huge amount of I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. Dry brushing can be done shittily or really good. And if you really take your time to nurture it on something like this, you could probably get away with that. Oh lordy. But dry brushing typically makes things look kind of dry, right? Look kind of dusty. And I'm not necessarily sold on these corpses being kind of dusty. That might not. I don't know if that's what I'm trying to go for here. But maybe. You can definitely use it as a shortcut, oh lordy, where you can do some light dry brushing and then maybe a little wash to like tone that down and tamp it down. LT with those 66 months. Holy shit, LT, you fucking gangster. There we go. Cut those guys in real quick. Rinse the old brush LT says, I mean, who doesn't like nice pink and testing? That's right, man. That's right. That's right, man. So now let's just move straight to that coal black real quick. Some raw dog. And I just want to... There's a little flash right there. Just scrape that off of my nail. And let's just carefully frame this out. Pretty hot and heavy. Ooh, I see what I fucked up on there. That's not a frame. Might have to make some shit up here. Using the tip of my brush. Combination of heart pull strategies. There we go. Hot and heavy. So this is where this frame ends here, and I feel like I've been drawing it all the way down. So I might have to make some artistic changes. Yeah, like all the way down here. Oh, it's still a frame. I see it. Oh, we're good. So remember, there's multiple viewing angles. Like there's always like a slight ledge on the inside here. Right. Emotive, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. Remember, if you're new here and you want to talk straight to me, to @me in chat. Oh lordy, yeah, I definitely, if you do a quick dry brush, it'll definitely establish some values for you to help you see what you want to see. That's true. So that's absolutely a thing. Let's get this latch done using some just sewing machines and just random fucking strokes. It's not too difficult here. Okay, let's make sure to get this viewing angle right here. See, this trim moves all the way down here. It's like a huge bevel. Now, this part of the wing, I'll probably just hit it the same color now that I look at it. This like structure, this frame. There's like a clear frame to it. Okay, let me rinse the brush down. Eric in chat, I see him. He says, I think I'm going to wet blender a layer to brighten and pull out the details. Oh yeah, I'll probably do a lot of stuff. And I'm mainly just doing all these base coats for you guys. Like, I know, like, I would just finish the action in real time, but I'm also trying to be efficient for our broadcast time. So, again, this is just some transparent red and white. It's not even close to as opaque as what we've been doing. But since we have, like, basically browns and reds already as a established base coat, it'll be fine to kind of tint the guts, the color I'm looking for. Okay, set this down. Oh, missed some spots actually. Check it out. Just realized we gotta get this. And obviously, I've never actually painted this side, so this is just raw resin. So I'll just hand paint that with some primer, black primer, when the time comes. Here's the other one. Now, let me hit this little frame here too, using the tip of my brush, just some sewing machine. Stipple, stipple, stipple. And I'm just bracing my hands, using the very tip. Heart pull strategy, pull right back to my heart, rotate, look for a straight line, and just drag it right back. On these little spines, I'm using mostly sewing machine stipples. Okay. So we're looking good. So this guy's almost dry. That's mostly dry. Let me bring up chat on my phone. There we go. Adam Wafts, what's up, dude? What you painting? Just finishing some Mega Knobs today. I'm painting Engines of Annihilation, baby. Okay, so now it's time to work on these bodies. So that was just some random blue, dark blue mixed with some black brown. Okay, so I can see where it looks like it's mostly skin, and I can see subtle details where bone is being exposed in these. So it's there. Okay? So we got to be careful to preserve that. Like, no doubt. Okay? So our slurry of color is something like this. This is kind of where we're at. Now, I want to keep it kind of, I want to just, I figured like I just throw some eject blue into it. So like I said, with like corpse skin, it's almost like you could do anything. It almost doesn't fucking matter. You know? And what I might do is greenify it slightly. Like I'm going to throw some transparent yellow down over here. I might throw a little, ivory down over here. I've got something that makes it brighter, right? So I've got this bluer mess. This is what we're starting with. I feel like if I throw a little yellow in there to kind of green it up, throw a little ivory in there to brighten it up. So now we got this neat color right here. And I should be able to just kind of, I mean, honestly, there's enough delineation in the musculature that I can actually just instantly run to my small brush, my X10, and I can actually probably just start blocking in, like kind of hyper highlighting almost. So let's see what happens if I just grab a puddle of this and like just kind of go muscle by muscle. Okay, so like here, look, here's a big deltoid right here. I mean, a pec. And I'm just going to kind of hit the whole thing real quick with our new color. Okay. I'm going to grab just some pure ivory and yellow and just kind of force it in. Some little wet blending stippling. See that? And now I'm going to move down to this like obliques. Kind of like that are kind of creeping around to his abs. Again, I'm just like laying it down hot and heavy. Let's grab some of that yellow ivory. Use it kind of just to establish some highlights right there. Take some moisture. Go back in time for a second. Kind of just blur that out. Like so. Let's get this deltoid right here, bicep right here. Get some of that highlight we established, which is some yellow and ivory. And down here, you can kind of see I'm just using some heart pull, high opacity, low moisture right here, just sketching down those ribs. Move it this way. Stipple, stipple, stipple. Now there's like a, you know, end to his body, and I'm just gonna kind of drag my brush across that seam. Right there. Miffy, I'm back watching your stream. Internet went down. That sucks. I'm glad you're back, brother. Now the face. Let's figure out. Oh, he's got another bicep. Hold on. He's got this deltoid right here. Bicep. Some forearm action. Run into that yellow ivory mix. Just drag it right in while it's still wet. Kind of center mass highlights. Real easy to do. You see? Okay. Now what we've got is a face, and like I said, I think there's some skull. And so let's take the initial color. Let's just be careful. Let me just kind of outline it. So I think he has an ear. There's absolutely an ear. Now I'm thinking that this is still skin here. I think the end's right there. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of carefully just kind of nurture some of this. But as we move into the bone, I'm going to take more ivory. Maybe some yellow. Maybe some brown. And just kind of walk in some pretty raw ass ivory. Okay, now it looks like shit right now, don't worry. I know. Just kind of laying out the perimeter. And when this kind of detail is kind of tricky because it's hard to see the intent. And I think I see more skin, so I might have to like drag more skin across his face. And I think the skull actually is up here too. So let's just run some skull in right there. Okay. Now, I think it's permissible to take some more ivory and gently encourage some of these bones to pop out. The skin here. Let's take some of that ivory yellow mix while the face is setting up, and let's just kind of go with some of the striations using our heart pull. Using light brush pressure, pulling straight back to our heart. They're absolutely musculature striations like all over the place here. Definitely, my man is cut. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Mevy. Mevy, what up, brother? Exclamation point, strongman love. Just getting things rolling. Appreciate this. 23 bonus Yo Dogs on this Beast Mode Friday from my boy Miffy. Scottish brother from another mother. So let's let this relax. Let's move over. Okay. So again, here's our base mix, right? That we created for this tier of highlighting. So we're using our small brush and we're just going muscle belly by muscle belly. So here is big ass pec. And let's just move it right into the ribs. Okay, now let's grab some of this ivory yellow mix. And while it's still wet, let's just kind of do a center mass highlight using just some stipples. Okay, let that relax for a second, move back. Now, I see that big hole in the middle of his stomach there? That's where we glue one of those flags. So he actually he's pinned, and there's like a flag coming right out of there. So we haven't glued that in yet. Left it off. Okay, just a little bit of moisture here. Let's grab this mid-tone kind of highlight. Let's hit the fucking delt, neck. Let's grab the highlight while it's still wet. Just jam it in there. Let the capillary effect take hold. Okay, let's move back here. Delt, neck, bicep. Let's grab the highlight while it's still wet. Okay. Let's move to the face again. So this guy's got another situation with the face. So I'm looking at it. It looks like definitely his mouth is skeletal. Again, he has a neck. Okay. He's got a little fucking trap. I think I see even an ear and some hair. Again, there's an ear. Maybe he's got cheek flesh. It's hard to see where skeleton and skin begin. I think that it's like rotting quite perfectly and hard. So I'm just kind of being gentle. I mean, that feels like straight bone up here. So let's move into some ivory. Okay. Let's move into some yellow and brown again. Keeping it wet. And let's just kind of blur that ivory border into the skin tone. Just some stipples. A little bit more ivory right here. Let's really just pull out this eye socket. And I feel like the teeth, I feel like he has a real chin. And I feel like maybe there's a skull up here. Just keeping it, I try to keep it in a little bit of a wet state so I can make little adjustments. Like here, I'm going to just kind of send some more ivory in. Just kind of stipple it. NS Ogre, throw some love my way. What's up, brother? Let me get some strong man love in the chat for my boy. NS Ogre, 115 bonus, yo, DZs. NS Ogre, I'm just going to stipple off of that line. Using the mid-tone, just kind of blur it together. And let that relax, okay? See how it dries down? It's going to mute itself down and dry a little bit easier to see. Let's grab some yellow and ivory, though. That's going to help us pop some of these muscle striations again. So high opacity, low moisture, just the tip of the brush. Pull back to your heart. Definitely some ribs poking through right here. And you see how the dark blue brown mix, like I didn't paint over everything. It's still there. Like there's tons of it in the shadow work still. Like so the blue and the brown are still the shadows. And we've just introduced yellow to that same mix to yellow it up, kind of greens it up. And then we introduce a little ivory to make it brighter. So I always I think like corpse skin is like just you can just do anything and it reads. Okay, now these faces over here at a Ogre. This one at least looks like almost pure skull. So let's start that way. Let's start with some ivory and yellow. Kind of in reverse order. Now let's go back to our green mix. Stipple some in, get a little moisture to help with that. Pick up some more ivory. Just stipple that in. So the best I can do is kind of blend in and then kind of define the borders later. And I can see right here, this is obviously skin right here, right? Like it's like his like whole body was just like cut off at partial shoulder trap pec. And the best thing to do is kind of like edge highlight that to success. Now this, again, I mean, I can see, I mean, it's like, it's crazy looking. Let's grab some yellow ivory brown. Get a little moisture, let's get a little of that green. Stipple that right in. Let's kind of blur the line there. And I can start to see where skin and bone do have defined borders on this. Like I said, that's going to be easy to pull out with some edge highlight and pen washing, I think. There's a little bit more ivory right here into the mix while it's still wet. Just some sewing machine stroke. Some highlight. I'll let that chill. So that's a pretty good starting position. And now what we can do is see if we can detail some of this, right? So here is some ivory. So let's just use some really sharp stipples to define some of the features of the skull. High opacity, low moisture. Just dragging on these teeth. Just kind of get those features to pop a little bit. Just some almost raw dog ivory. Same thing, I'm just going to stipple kind of around the eye socket here. Hit some of these teeth. I think this is straight skull right here. I'm just going to stipple in subtly. All right, let that dry for 1 second. Let's just take a moment to get the spikes that are sticking out of his body. And I think let's just do, some black or some black and brown right now. Maybe some yellow. Black, brown, yellow, ivory. Right there. So he's just like pinned to these spikes. So let's paint them first and then we'll deal with what they're made out of, because I'm not sure if they're like wood spikes, metal spikes. It's hard to tell. I think they're like just horn kind of spike, like that kind of makeup. Get a little bit more yellow ivory. Or pigment, you beast. Ooh, baby, I like it, yeah, baby, I like says, why are fish so smart? They live in schools. Fucking, god damn it, you're fucking Wordsmith, son. That's fucking genius. Get some strong man love for my boy War Pigment. Thank you, dog. Is that 69 bonus yo dogs for my boy right there? Now, War Pigment. Check it out. Let's just take some straight up transparent red. Water it down. Okay. And let's use this to gently move some of that moisture. Let's just sink some of this around some of this exposed skeleton. Okay. Just a little bit of transparent red. Stipple, stipple, stipple. Okay. You can kind of make up the perimeter at this point. And I'm also going to use this. Oh shit, what was that? 1 second, guys. Loud ass noise outside. I think just like something fell down the street or construction or something. It's fucking loud as fuck though. Thought it was like upstairs. Lining, thank you for the follow. Damate, thank you for the follow. Now War Pigment, thank you for the support. Mithy, my man, and a Ogre. So transparent red. I want to use it around these spikes. Okay, you see? Just to kind of build a little inflammation. Where they are penetrating, but also to create a border, a little separation. Now, you could take some water, really lower the opacity of this, take some moisture off, and you can use it to just kind of like maybe change some shadows into being more red. Just a little glaze tech, you see? You can add this new layer of realism. Very low opacity though, right? Just like a 1% opaque filter, transparent red. Just to introduce something to break up the monotony of this blue-green mix. And there are collars and like latches, so you can kind of hit the area around those. Maybe even down here where it's ripped apart, maybe it should be a little bit more irritated. Or pigment, whatever was it made it past the noise gate. Whatever it was, it made it. Oh, do you hear it too? So let's grab a little transparent blue even, okay? Let's get this. I think a little transparent blue might go far too. So we got a little blue and red. Okay. Take some of that moisture off. I think this could be fun to throw in the recesses right here. See, just to get inside some of these shadows. Just upgrade the contrast a little bit. Let me take a little of our coal black and brown mix. And I'm going to just kind of carefully jam some in. Kind of as a pin wash to help define some of the borders on this face. Separate the mouth a little bit. Okay. Let me take some black. Some black right here. And let me just carefully paint this collar. Pure black right now. Here. Here. All right. Let's figure out the intestines real quick. So, here's our transparent red. Some blue mixed in now. I like this. Let's get some white. A little bit more opaque. Just treating it like edge highlight game. Opacity. A little moisture. Let's rinse it down. Pick up some white. Still wet enough that I can just drag the white in. I think. Nope. So I just had to tone it down a little bit. But I want it to be a little extreme, a little sharp, because I want it to look kind of wet. So we want, like, you know, blown out highlights, you know? Now, while I'm sitting here, let's finish the action. This black trim should probably be actually metal, right? To be in line with what we've done. So before we get to that step, let's grab some Bold Power Red. Let's just put a little squirt down over here in the cut. Let me take some water, some Bold Power Red, some of this black brown, some black, and I'll make a pin wash, okay? Semi-opaque and a little wet. JS Precision, what up, homie? So this is dark, and I'm gonna deliberately heart pull this. A little bit, I'm gonna get a little wetter. So I'm basically trying to define this border, like where these little wings hit. And there's little scratches everywhere in here. So I'm going to jam it in there too. So you can see them now. Some holes right there. So this is it's just chemically just the same brown and red we use, a little black mixed in. Semi-opaque and a little wet. It's a little aggressive too. I'm going a little hard here. A little bit too opaque probably. A little too dark probably. But it'll ride. Just need to keep some red alive in the shoulder though, you know? Because that is one of our secondary colors. Reappraise says, when did you start painting the Emperor? It's good. Got jokes. Love it. So here's back to Bold Power Red. So I'm going to use Bold Power Red Pure now. And I'm going to try to oppose some of this. So this might be tricky though. So I'm going to try to just get in here and be kind of artistically licensed to do whatever the fuck I want. So I'm just jamming high opacity Bold Power Red kind of right in there, dragging a line back to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, I'm gonna take some white and mix it right into the red. Okay, so we're making like a bright pink or desaturated pink up here. And we're gonna use this to be gentle. Not gentle enough. Over here. There we go. So now what I've got is like this pattern emerging. Let's go back a step to red. So this is like a darker version of the same color that this pink we made. So we're just going to tone it down a little bit. That did not tone it down at all. A little bit more red in the mix. So I'm trying to tone it down as it fans out, you see? Tight, tight, tight. Let that ride. Let's run back to the super bright version of it. Let's see if we can carefully get under some of these cracks. These scratches, you see? Not easy to do. How they're like embedded inside these like wings. But that's okay. I'm gonna do a little fake line right here. This is gonna be tricky. Frozen Hobbit, you legend. What's up, brother? Get some strong man living in the chat for Frozen Hobbit. Says, fine, I'll admit that Krios is nicer than my Neo. 69 bonus $0 for Frozen Hobbit. Yeah, it is. Okay, let's take some transparent yellow carefully. Water it down. And let's just introduce a little bit of that transparent yellow to the highlights of our red. Okay, so what we're doing is resaturating those light points by giving them a little bit more heat with yellow. It's an ancient tech right here. So now we have a much more interesting situation here. Much fucking more baller now that that red has been curated. And like I said, I probably should paint the structure with some silver. I just don't know if I want to, though. I kind of like it black. Okay, going with black. Let's just make black. Let's make a black, blue, gray. Let's just see what happens if I just kind of sketch some highlights in. Real aggressive, dark blue gray. Deliberately not tracing, I'm doing heart pulls to make big broad lines on purpose. Little tracer action right here. At any time I can go back to black and reshape lines. That's why I get pretty ambitious. So I kind of just want to see what it looks like if we keep it in the black spectrum, which are some nice cool highlights. Yeah, I think that might be pretty tight. So I'm just going to do some, like I said, I'm going to do mostly heart pulls here just to keep it kind of seriously thick. And then I'll tighten it up with some straight black again. Semi-opaque, a little wet on this All right, so what I'll do now is I'll get more serious now. I'll get some white in there, some blue, take some moisture off, and what we'll do is we'll try to be more precise here, using the tracer technique. High opacity, low moisture. Ride that rail from the horizontal position. Skinny lines every time. Big part of our class structure is teaching all of our brushstroke strategies. Trace right there. Not everything can be traced though, so sometimes you got to know when to just not do a tracer. Okay, so it looks like we have to move into some heart pull territory, so let's get a little flow improver. Now, like right here. Right there. Right there. Nothing too crazy. So if I can get the inside track right here. That's always important on these thick on these really thick ones. And that one kind of got away from me. So that should be, like, I tried to do a tracer when I should have just done a heart pull. So what I'll do now is I'll move back to black. This is why edge highlight in black is super easy, because just go back to black, and thank you, Thermo Barrack Kitten. What's up? So back to black, semi-opaque, a little wet. You just run it in there and do some edits and use it as a subtraction tool. Anywhere you feel like it got a little wily, just go in there and glaze edit it. Just gotta repair it. No problems. Okay, so we've got something pretty. Thermobaric Kitten, shout out. The sub, I'm gonna run a quick tracer right here. Quick tracer right here. Now these, kind of interestingly enough, I feel like I can paint them black gray. Let's see what happens. How hard is this? I can run a quick tracer over these. Keep it opaque. Keep it dry. Trying to keep it in that same color spectrum. Run that tracer deep. So you want to just really work the shallowness of the brush and just skirt that thing, man. I'm not going to obsess over these because I think our pin wash did enough. Whoops. So I got put a little highlight down here preemptively, so let's just kind of finish the action there. Where's the brush? Where's the brush? Pearls 300. Stompy Jones. What's up, guys? Stompy Jones 7 months back to Bizak. Stompy Jones. I'm going to grab some pure black. Just kind of run a line inside there. Boom. Now let's keep going, bro. Let's keep going. We still got time. So here we go. Let's see which shoulder pad we're working on here. So, oh yeah, I forgot. This doesn't need to be painted up there. So we have there we go. This goes right over everything. Is this the right one? Yep. Let me double check the other guy just to make sure I have this selection correct. Yep. So, left this off. We airbrushed most of this. So I should be able to just glue it in now. And I'm going to. Yo, Valhalla painting. What up, brother? Let me get some fucking hype right there. Sorry. Just gluing something on. So we just glued this banner on to the shoulder. This is a shoulder pad, by the way. This whole thing is a fucking shoulder pad. Welcome to the show, Valhalla Painting and crew. Working on our Engine of Annihilation web exclusive. And this goes up here. So that whole thing up there I was like hyper focused on makes a lot more sense now when you see that this goes in there, right? So there is what that is. That whole thing. That's a shoulder pad on a creature caster guy. You see what I'm saying? It's like this is like painting a Space Marine captain. Like this one shoulder pad. This, of course, is what we're working on right here. Engine of Annihilation creature caster. Is the other pad going to be off stream war pigment? No, man. I'm going to paint that shit like right now. Like, so we'll let all this stuff dry because that's not hard to paint. It's just a horn. You know, we're going to just do some edge highlighting on that. What we probably need to do is now, like I said, this side of the shoulder pad, it didn't catch primer. And this is straight up resin. This isn't like void resin or anything like that. So let's take some black brown actual primer here, and we'll do a whip in a second. But look, I'm gonna pour some primer down. We'll take a small dry brush, carefully paint this interior now. And you're not gonna see all this circuitry and shit. You're not gonna see most of this. So I probably am just gonna ghetto dry brush this shit. So I do like using these dry brushes for applying primer by hand in this situation. So that needs to dry, and I didn't put any on the ball. So I don't know what my best move is here. Oh, I'll just lay it right in front of the fan right here. Tight. And so what we need to do now is round 2, baby. There's 2 of those things. So we got to paint like 2, like fucking Blade Guard veterans, essentially, like level detail guys, just to have shoulder pads. Or Pig was like, another pad going off stream. Dog, we got an hour and a half left, man. So we'll take the lessons of what we just learned on one shoulder pad and apply them to the second shoulder pad and do it faster. Okay. As you can see, and we airbrushed all this in our secondary spectrum. So all you gotta do is just drop some pin washes in this cape. Just get inside those furrows. Drop a couple edge highlights. Get that horn painted up. Get that horn painted up. GG. Too easy. Too easy. And you can see now, here's our guy. And I think it goes right here. Maybe right here. Just gangster mode. And so we also have fucking thigh armor. So those have to go on too. So we have, if everything goes according to plan, we're going to do a whip session here. We've done 3 volumes on just this, right? I want to get this one done like that one by today. That'd be sick. Because then we can just move on with our lives. And the sooner I can get them glued on them, the better. And then we have to move on to, after the thigh armor, we have a fucking butt curtain. Look at this butt robe. Look at that fucking thing. That's awesome. And so we have 3 volumes. This is our 4th volume. Go back into VODs, check them out. Check them out on Patreon. We big day 1 project. We got a lot of this curated and cultivated, and you can see it is kind of like just lazy metal with some dry brushing and wash. But we spent time pulling out extra details, and we're going to continue doing that. So it's not just this like blanket silver, and we're going to keep pulling elements out for visual contrast, right? And then we are laying out things, pulling them out of the model, making sure they're framed and bordered so you can see all the crazy details. Because like there's all these details, but if I choose to ignore them because I don't want to deploy effort, then it's like, why are the details even there? You know? So we're gonna keep moving through that process on this guy and plucking details out. But we're taking we're doing our side quest now. We got our first shoulder pad done. And so what we need to do is, and I'll leave this stuff alone for now, like the pin washing and stuff and the capes and stuff. Like this was all airbrushed separately, and then we'll just detail them. We did the shoulder pad a second ago. So what we're gonna do is kind of redo everything we just did on this one, okay? So let's grab the big number 4. Okay, so what we did initially was just some, we used some dark blue and mixed it in with brown and base coated. Now what we have is we have that same dark blue with some brown with some yellow mixed in. Touch of ivory. So this is kind of like our brighter version of this exact color, right? By adding ivory, we brightened it. By adding yellow, we greened it up. So we're going to use just a little moisture, kind of keeping it hot and heavy, high opacity, just a little moisture. Mobile Freak, thank you for the follow. And again, we're just going to go kind of section by section. So here is the peck. Actually, I'm using the wrong size brush to try. I'm authorized to use the little brush here. So I just laid down a wet puddle on that peck. Let's grab some ivory and yellow. And while it's still wet, we're just going to go center mass and just let the capillary effect force a blur. First, force a little bit of a blend. Like that, right, kind of dead center. Rinse, reset. Let's go back. Let's hit the other peck. Again, let's just pick up the highlight while it's still wet. A little yellow, little ivory. And again, let's get that blur going in the middle. Center mass highlight. While it's still wet. Okay, rinse, reset. Hit the mid-tone again. Let's move down. Carve out these ribs and obliques real quick. Again, pick up the highlight while it's wet. Just drag it in with some heart pulls. See, it's going to blend naturally because there's ambient moisture there. Okay, rinse, reset. Back to the mid-tone. Let's run over here. Let's hit the deltoid and the trap. A little bit of this bicep. Let's pick up some of the highlight and just use the tip of our brush. Sometimes you want to rinse and reset, dry it up off on your paper towel. Come in with a fresh dollop of paint. Using our heart pull right there. Stipple, stroke, little sewing machine. Okay, rinse it, reset it. Go back to our mid-tone right here. Hit the trap, hit the delt, hit the bicep, rinse it, dry it up on my paper towel, pick up the highlight. Let's go center mass and just let it blur in. Like we have a tiny little airbrush basically. We're doing this. And all that blue-brown is still there in the shadows. Now, I'm just I'm gonna leave the head for now. I'm gonna run over to this guy real quick. Let's hit the delt, or the peck, I mean. Peck, rinse, reset. Little ivory yellow mix right here. Let's go center mass. Using the heart pull. Building some center mass highlight. So the yellow is kind of greening it up, and like I said, the ivory is brightening it up. So we get a nice little blur. Let's go back to mid-tone. I'm moving much quicker than we did the last time. We're just kind of, I see where I can cut corners and I can rely a little bit on the edge highlight game. So I'm doing a little bit less as far as wet blending. I'm being a little bit lazier about it this time because a lot of the detail comes from the edge highlight game. Is what I determined when we did the other shoulder. I mean, the other shoulder pad, aka all the corpses. So I don't need to rely nearly as much on this blending. Now, faces are kind of annoying. Excuse me. Let's run in here, just kind of get it all locked in. Rinse, reset. Let's pull out some of this ivory yellow. Just kind of sewing machine, stipple it in. See, there's like a skull protrusion here. And it's hard to see where the borders are, so we just kind of feather it in with sewing machine. Stipple, stipple, stipple. Rinse it, reset it. Pick up a little more ivory. Stipple it in a little bit more opaque with a little bit more opacity. Right there. Move on with your life. This one right here. Lay it down hot and heavy. Now again, rinse, reset. Let's pick up some of the highlight game. While it's wet, I should be able to easily blur this in. Some sewing machine strokes. Stipples. Like so. Rinse it, reset it. Pick up some straight ivory. And let's see if we can just kind of enhance some stipples, sewing machine stipples. Just kind of blur it right into that moisture with some capillary relief. And this one right here, this might be the most defined face I've seen of the bunch. Rinse it. Let's pick up some highlight, some ivory, some yellow. Send some in, rinse it. More ivory. Just send it right in, super opaque. Rinse it. It does have like a full skin flap right there. It's horrible. Like I said, I did that much quicker with less opacity than we did the first time. But now what I'm going to do is take some ivory and yellow. Oh, Chaos Kev, you legend. This one's for Chaos Kev right here. Check it out. Chaos Kev, I'm going to get some strong man love. 230 bonus Yo Dogs. High opacity, low moisture. And we're using that yellow ivory mix, and we are running those edge highlights in, and you see 90% of what needs to happen happens right now. That quick. Shoulder pads are looking awesome. Chaos Kev, thank you for your support. You're a gentleman and a scholar. See, heart pull strategy, just the tip of the brush, high opacity, and we're using this to determine beginning and ends, right? So here's a border. Jump over to this striation, hit that trap, hit the bicep, pow, just like that. And so this is exactly the same color we use, just more opacity, less moisture. So that ivory, some of that yellow. You see? Same thing over here, Chaos Kev. Hit these little muscle striations, pull right back to your heart. Like brush pressure, using a small brush. Rotate. I'm moving from the center of the chest out, following the natural sculpt. Right there. Super easy. This is one of the brush strokes that we teach in our class. We do a whole class on this. We do 3 lessons in the 101 curriculum, and this is one of the more important ones. I mean, they're all super important, but this is the 3rd one. You need to build up to it. Rinse, 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 rinse. Auto racing. What's up, man? So now let's take some more ivory and let's go back to those faces. And let's really work those, defining those actual bones with just some sewing machine action, some stipples. You see, we're just kind of tracing things, letting the ivory pull out the teeth, this nose, this cheekbones, this obvious skull right here, just a stipple in. Just opacity is key here. Moisture mitigation is key. All painting is just opacity and moisture management. Right here. And this is where that flagpole goes, right here. Inside that guy. Let's grab more ivory. And let's really acknowledge that these are ribs fucking cracking out of his body. Pow, son. Rinse it, rinse it. Okay, let's take a quick side quest down transparent red lane. Some transparent red. We're going to use transparent red to kind of create frames between, like, you know, possible skin and bone. Low, semi-opaque, slight amount of moisture. Just using the tip of our brush and kind of stippling it in. And you can kind of just make it up. You see? Also, we could take a little blue in the mix if we want. Make it more purple. And we can use this to jump into some pin washing strategy where we get inside some of the shadows and make them a little darker. And purpler. See, and that's definition. That's contrast. Okay, I'm going to take a lot of I'm going to take the opacity down real low, and I'm going to use this to just kind of stipple in a little bit of coloration and introduce a little bit more real like inflammation to some of these regions. See that? That's just managing our opacity. I just lowered it to about 5%, took some of the moisture off, and I'm just slowly brushing it in and letting it filter, just kind of almost randomly, just kind of making areas up and creating some inflammation, you see? Again, that's predicated on our glazing technique, which I teach in the 201 curriculum. Little stipple right there. Just doubling down on some inflammation here. Here. Okay. Let's move to let's get some white. Some of this slurry. And let's go back to the intestines. And we're just using high opacity here, low moisture. And we're using mostly stippling and a heart pull technique. A little flow improver to keep it from drying on our tip. See that? Real quick, real quick. Rinse it. Get a little bit more white. And we're going to just hyper highlight it now to be like, make it like it's shinier. Using a little bit more precision. Looks like it's gross and wet and shiny. Rinse it, rinse it, rinse it. Let's get the spikes real quick. Actually, let's do a little bit more transparent red. Because actually, right around where the spikes are jumping out, I'm just going to drop a little transparent red off. Like a pin wash. Kind of indicate that it's popping right through this dude. Okay, rinse it. So let's just get some like brown, black. Maybe a little ivory right here. Let's make sure. Let's just get these horns kind of repainted. Using the fundamentals again, we're just rotating using mostly heart pull strategy here. Just kind of carefully painting them to be a different color than their skin because they just kind of got tagged a bunch while we were painting the blue and the brown in. Maybe get a little yellow in there, a little ivory. Just gotta pull those spikes out real quick. Nothing too crazy for now. Okay. Let's take some straight up black. There's a collar here, it's painted black. There's a little armband right there. I feel like that might be a bone. God damn, look at this thing. Yikes. That's horrible. Let's just jam some purple and red in. Yikes. Alright, GG. Lessons learned. That was fast, right? Let's move on to pin washing strategy. So here's our bold power red. Some residual brown. A little touch of the black. Take a little moisture, so semi-opaque and a little wet. And we're going to use this to create some sharpness in the image. So we're respecting the red and the brown that's already there. And we're going to take this and just drag it along these seams. And I'm respecting it more than I did last time. That was the lesson I learned. It was too dark last time. Too hard to control. And since I'm respecting that bold pyro, I'm infusing it with the same black brown that was in the base coat. Added a speck of black, but I made sure there was a healthy amount of red in there. It's a little bit safer. Withstands heavy-handedness. Jam it into this hole, that hole, that hole. Stipple it in there. See there's a scratch here. Let's just make sure there's some of this in there too. Using the tip of our brush, heart pull strategies. Use just light brush pressure. Pow. Okay, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it. Let's pluck a little bit more black in there. And I'm going to use the black to make sure that some of these scratches are a little sharper. Okay, rinse, 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 rinse. 20 minutes left in the show, guys. Cascave, Recoil, NSO Group, War Pigment, thank you so much. Look how far we're come. Okay, let's let the red set up for a second. Let's go on a little side journey. Let's get some black, some blue, some this white. Make it look gray. And again, let's just use a little bit more respect in our diagram here, and we're going to just trace some lines, okay? Or heart pull. And that's possibly disrespectful, like I mentioned, but that's okay. I'm just jumping in and doing it. Okay? Tip of the brush. I don't care what happens. Don't worry about it. People overcomplicate edge highlighting black, and I've done it so many different ways. I'm showing you guys just like this supremely nonchalant technique right now. So I'm using all heart pull, just drawing straight lines back to my heart, you see? And I made a gray out of that black, but it's like super bright. It's like, god damn, dude, right? So anytime you grab a gray and you go to highlight black, it's going to be disrespectful unless you make it super, 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 super dark gray. I did not make it super, super dark gray. And that's okay. Because black is so easy to edit. Right now I'm just going gangster. No worries, no fear. Let it ride, let it ride. Okay. Rinse it, rinse it. Let's grab some black. Lower the opacity of the black a little bit. Let's come back in here with some of this black, and I'm going to just kind of glaze edit, cut it back to the center, and reshape my line a little bit, and also get a fun little blur. Super easy to do. Just kind of semi-opaque. Me wasting time. Thanks for the follow. Same thing here, just run it down. It's not opaque at all. It's just a filter of black. And I'm using it to curate a sharpening effect to my lines. Softening effect. Use a little water. Little moisture. Pretty easy to do. Low effort as fuck. Get a free little bonus blur right there. So now what you can do is be a little bit more precise. Let me actually just kind of hit these real quick. Let me introduce a little bit more white. Keeping it more opaque. And I'm just going to carefully run a tracer right here. Right here. Rotate, look for that horizon line. So I'm just popping the final edge out, right? Just ping, king, cling, ping, ping, ping. Now here, I'm going to have to be a little bit tighter. Bow. Bow, right there. Mostly opaque here. I think I should be able to run a tracer here. Yep. Right there. Right there. Tracer technique. Let's run some black back in there. Clean this up a little bit. Now I'm going to come back to those in a second. Let's run to some bold power red. I'm going to run pure bold power red. Here we go. Heart pull strategy right here. We're opposing those dark lines with a nice new highlight. Okay? This is raw dog pretty much directly off the palette. Heart pull, heart pull. They're all heart pulls. Spoiler. Okay, now here's where it gets fun. Take a little white. Let's make it a little desaturated pink situation here. And we're just making it brighter in the center right there. Okay, let's get more white. Let's do it again. A little more moisture there, got a little dry on my tip. Okay, now what we want to do is just do some quick under highlights on some of these scratches, some of these holes. We're using stipple now, reinforcing the three-dimensionality of those holes. Okay, rinse it. I'm going to go back with a quick pin wash. It's like a second tier pin wash from the first step, and just clean up any spillage. There we go, like that. Too easy. Let that dry for 1 second. Let's grab some of this gray we were using, and let's carefully drag some onto these spines using a very shallow approach and using the flat of our brush. This is a modified heart pull slash tracer. There's both techniques. Rotate the model, not the brush. Run that shallow tracer. This one's kind of tricky here. Okay. We've linked them together now. Throw a couple of bonus highlights here. No worries. Rinse the brush again. Finishing touch. Move over here. All painting, opacity and moisture. So I'm going to lower the opacity of this yellow. Remove some excess moisture. And we're just going to change that pink into more of a tangerine by giving it a filter of this yellow, which will kind of really warm it up. A lot of people, they just take yellow and try to highlight red. That'll never work. What you need is the red to actually be brighter, and nothing makes things brighter better than white. But white will desaturate it, and then we'll just resaturate it with some yellow. Pop, pop. There we go. Okay, now I learned lessons. I don't need to highlight anything inside that hole. Okay? We learned that from the last one. Okay, so now look. We can now put together the shoulder pad with 13 minutes left. A little glue. Goes right in the hole. Let's see, did I put enough glue on? Yeah. Right there. Airbrush those separately. Big ass fucking horn. Airbrush that separately. And you see, but just by doing little things like, you know, you could have easily glued this horn on, right? The whole time. That horn did not need to be separate, right? Technically, it would have been fine. But look at how much easier this was to paint. Think about how much easier this was to paint without these fucking flag hanging off and this horn shooting out, right? So much easier to access everything. And now the horn and the flag are already kind of in the spectrum I want to be in, so now it's just a matter of just throwing some fucking pin wash and some edge highlights on these. Blaz thank you for the follow, homie. Appreciate it. So we got both of our joints right here. So I need to paint the back of this because there's literally no primer there. And let me just make sure that there's some black brown. I don't want it to get all wet from my wet palette. So this is some Monument primer. And the black brown is what we used as our base coat anyway. And I just never was able to access the back of these based on how I had them mounted. And I just knew I was going to eventually do this. So this is always part of the plan. So now this needs to dry. Okay, sitting in front of my fan. So now we got this thing. And what we can do here now is pull out some details on the actual flag, and that was I feel like the flag was literally just ivory and yellow. Over black brown. So let's make something that's respectful and darker using that configuration. And I should be able to just carefully drag this in with a hard pull and just add a little bit of a definition line to these lower furrows in the flag. I have no interest in doing any kind of glazing on this or any kind of wet blending. I did the airbrushing, I'm gonna let it ride, and so what I'm doing is making sure dark things are dark. Get a little bit more brown in the mix. And I know it's just really 3 paints. It's just black, brown, yellow, and ivory. So I'm trying to create some separation in these folds. You know what I'm saying? I can move back up to ivory right here. Maybe split the difference a little bit. See that? And I'm just trying to pop out some of the detail without doing a whole lot more than I've already done, which is carefully airbrush this little flag. See, and I just want to make sure it's pretty and has definition. And like I said, it's easy because it's only 3 paints that comprise it, and it should always be pretty easy to use your eyes and just figure out what combination you need. You know, using some heart pull right here, right there, This is just some ivory and yellow right now. You see, like, I don't need to do a whole lot. Like, it already looks sick, see? Now up here, there's like there's definitely some cordage that we need to work on. And as it gets down to the tail, it's mostly ivory and less yellow. So we're going to use more ivory down here. Just like that. See, like that's beautiful, right? Just super easy to do. Just a couple seconds of work right over what we already airbrushed, you know? 7 minutes left in the show. Avon Fur TV, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for your support today. What I'll do is take some black and brown, and let's just see if we can just remove some of the similarities between the colors here. So I'm taking mostly black here, but it's a warm black because I'm letting all those browns mingle with it. The problem is, since I'm in this like ivory spectrum for the cape or the fluttering flag, I don't want the horns to be too close, you know? So right now, when in doubt, just go to black. Kind of always my solution. And then like I can even just take some white randomly, run a quick wet blendy ass highlight right into it like that. Just take it off the spectrum. Okay, now there is some cordage right here. I'll just take some watered down black for now and like ghetto wash it right in there. So that's just some literally coal black with water in it. The cord, that little like wrapping, and there's some up here too. And then I'll highlight those cords separately. But right now it's just a quick base coat. Now this one, I'm down to let it ride in that spectrum, but we need to like pin wash it. There's like all sorts of little divots on it. Like for example, let's run some of that kind of brown pin wash mix we were using. You basically want to make sure that these lines are painted. It might be a little righteous. Let me get a little bit more water in there. And this is, so what's happening here is kind of a wet glaze where I really watered it down too much. And now I'm just kind of spreading it out. So the opacity is very low, but I should be able to just take some highlight back in. Kind of the similar spectrum, just lower the opacity. I should be able to just run a quick wet glaze right here. Wet glazing is different because the opacity is very low. And it only really works when I have a base coat established. Which I do. Real simple. So we're not going to have time to do both sides even of one shoulder pad, but I will be able to do one fun thing here, which is take my dry brush, take some, and we have, what, 3.5 minutes left. Thank you guys so much for your support today. Now, let me see if I can discover the location of my dark silver. And so all I would think I need to do is put a little dark silver on my paper towel here. And see, I primed all that, you know, with the black brown. I should be able to just dry brush right over this, leaving the darkness behind. and putting some intrigue in there, you see? And I don't spend too much time painting things you can't see. Okay, so you can see a little of this, I think. So right now, that's it. That's all I'm going to do there. Because I'm pretty sure that it's just so hard to view. Don't want to glue it on just yet because there's more to do on it, but you really see, you have to like, you really can't see in there. So you look in there and you see I painted it, and that's all that really matters. But yeah, I mean, look at the difference, like with this shoulder pad now painted up in the same spectrum as him. I mean, that shit is sick, right? It's just so much. I mean, like, it didn't look like anything when it was red, right? These are like Blade Guard veterans. That's how much details in these fucking things.